Hello everyone, today I've got another build to share with you. This one is for hunters, and it takes advantage of some underrated exotics to create a really strong and versatile build. I don't have a name for it at the time of recording, so if you've got an idea for it, leave it in the comments and I'll pick my favorite one. This build takes the same foundation as my Knifeslinger setup. I made a video about it a while ago. Put simply, the main draw of it was infinite throwing knives. And it takes the foundation of that and expands upon it to make one heck of an upgraded build. To start, you'll need the fully upgraded Wave 1000 Cuts Gunslinger subclass. We'll be taking advantage of pretty much everything in this subclass, starting with the Knife Trick perk. This is your melee ability that lets you toss out knives that burn enemies on hit. The Burning Edge perk says that when enemies burn, your dodge ability recharges faster. And the Playing with Fire perk says that destroying these burning enemies recharges your knife trick more quickly. Keeping those perks in mind, we then combine the subclass with the exotic chest piece Ophidius Spathe. The awesome thing about this chest piece is it gives you 2 knives per charge. Not 2 ability charges, but rather every time you get your ability back, you can throw a fan of knives twice. This allows us to build up our Playing with Fire perk even faster because every knife kill we get adds 1 stack. So the more knives we can throw, the faster we can reach a stack of ×3, and the shorter our cooldown. Skilled players will be able to get 2 or 3 kills with 1 fan of knives. That instantly brings you up to ×2 or ×3 respectively, but it's great to have an extra fan of knives for keeping that perk active just in case you miss. So already we have a really strong build that lets you throw out a lot of knives. Playing with Fire ×3 gives us a crazy fast cooldown of just 4 seconds. And with Ophidius Spathe, we can get double the knives, so we can reach and sustain that 4-second cooldown more often. If you're playing in an activity with the Brawler modifier active, and you reach the 3rd stack of Playing with Fire, you'll have infinite throwing knives that you can throw as fast as the animation lets you. So this build is already really fun, but we can do better. Next, we're going to add in an exotic that unlocks an entirely new part of this build, and that's Prometheus Lens, a solar trace rifle. Trace rifles are actually really good in the current sandbox, but I rarely see people using them thanks to the grenade launcher meta. Trace rifles received several buffs over the last year, with Prometheus Lens getting additional buffs not too long ago. They've been steadily getting better, and while they won't be your next mountaintop, I think you'd be surprised at how quickly they can melt things, especially with the proper Singe active. If only we got back that specialist modifier from Destiny 1, oh boy, that would be insane with trace rifles. If you're wondering why I chose Prometheus Lens though, it's because this specific exotic actually synergizes perfectly, probably unintentionally, with the Wave 1000 Cuts subclass. Because Prometheus Lens burns targets, it activates your Burning Edge perk, which rapidly refills your dodge ability. All you have to do is damage a target with Prometheus Lens, and this will give you full dodge energy in seconds. So that's already awesome, but with a build like this, we can definitely squeeze out some more potential with certain armor perks. Taking a look at what we've got so far, there's 2 main components of this build, melee and dodge. This means we should look for perks that benefit from melee kills and dodging. Personally, I love using my super ability often, and Blade Barrage is one of my favorites, so I went with a hands-on perk for the helmet, which grants super energy for melee kills, and I went with Dynamo for my boots, which grants super energy every time I dodge. Now, depending on your preference, you could change these perks up, like using Bomber to refill your grenade every time you dodge. With hands-on and Dynamo, even without any super mods, your super uptime is actually ridiculous. Every knife kill and every dodge is just adding more and more super energy, and that's on top of your Prometheus Lens, which, if you've been lucky enough to get the catalyst from strikes, will also be making orbs for you. The one thing about this build that I actually had to train myself to get used to was always being ready to use my dodge ability. I was definitely not used to having my dodge be ready every 2 seconds, and I had to remind myself to keep using it to get that super energy. And unlike the 1-2 punch build, which if you haven't seen it, definitely check that one out, you can actually use the marksman dodge here, so you'll never have to reload. If you're feeling crazy enough, you could exchange Ophidius Spathe for something like Dragon Shadow, which reloads all of your weapons and increases movement speed and handling when you dodge, or 6 Coyote, which gives you an extra dodge ability, meaning more super energy. One of the best parts about this build is you get a lot of power without a very restrictive loadout. You can use any legendary you want in both your primary and heavy slot, and Prometheus Lens is an ad killing machine, so you've got one for ads. You can use something like Swarm with a Raven for boss DPS, or if you're a psychopath, you can run 2 special weapons and use Mountaintop in your primary. This build has been one of my favorites since the beginning, and I was happy to revisit it and expand upon it to hopefully introduce some of you to a non-meta way to play that includes some underrated exotics. Don't sleep on trace rifles. They're fantastic in both PvE and PvP, and totally viable in a wide variety of content. If you're interested in learning about more builds and maybe ones for different classes, let me know if I should make a video discussing my favorites. The rest of the video is going to be some gameplay. Stick around if you want to show some extra support for the channel. Otherwise, consider clicking that subscribe button and turning on notifications so that you never miss new content from me. Thank you very much for watching.